Well, hello, Radiant Church. It's Pastor Jeremy here with another 5-minute devotion from the book of Psalms. And today we're going to be looking at Psalm 32, verse 1 through 5. Let me read. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. I want to look at two things we learn from this psalm about the importance of humility in how we process this issue of sin, the thing that is the fundamental problem with the earth, with the world, with humankind is sin. Two things we learn. One is if we proudly pretend that we have no sin, spiritually we will waste away. That's what was happening with David. When he kept silent about his sin, he was wasting away spiritually from the inside out. And the resistance that you feel, like if you're not honest about your sin, then Christianity is not going to seem like it's working. It's not going to be full of the joy and all the things that people say Christianity is supposed to bring. You're not going to experience if you're not being honest about the reality of sin in your life. And that's what David was experiencing. So we need to humble ourselves and recognize that we have a sin problem. And not just count me in, I'm a sinner like everyone else, but I have real issues in my heart and be honest about those. We need humility to do that. But there's a second kind of humility that we must have if we are to move forward in the grace of Christ. And that is this. If we proudly feel that we are such vile sinners that God could never forgive us, we will remain spiritually dry. Christianity also will not make any sense if we're not able to believe that His mercy is big enough to cover my sin. That's pride. If I think my sin is too big for God and I just can't shake my sense of guilt and shame and condemnation, what I'm doing with that is I'm saying, God, I know you died on the cross and everything, but it wasn't enough, not for me. Maybe for others, but not for me. How arrogant are we to think that our sin is bigger than His love? There's this passage from a letter that John Newton wrote to a pastor friend of his who was experiencing some depression and despondency, and this is what he wrote to him. You say you feel overwhelmed with guilt and a sense of unworthiness. Well, indeed, you cannot be too aware of the evils inside of yourself. But you may be, indeed you are, improperly controlled and affected by them. You say it is hard to understand how a holy God could accept such an awful person as yourself. You then express not only a low opinion of yourself, which is right, but also too low an opinion of the person, work, and promises of the Redeemer, which is wrong. You complain about sin, but when I look at your complaints, they are so full of self-righteousness, unbelief, pride, and impatience that they are little better than the worst evils you complain of. So what's the final lesson here? Don't let pride get in the way of you being honest about your sin, but also don't let pride get in the way of you being able to relish in the wondrous mercy of God. And so when you pray, I encourage you today to pray and confess your sin to God. Acknowledge your need of Christ, but also don't you dare discount what it means to live your life in Christ. As He has made you a new creation, as He's covered you in the righteousness of Christ, now you are dead to sin and alive to God. That was something Christ did. As don't be too proud to admit and to receive that reality as well. Blessings on you.